Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka... And we are back with another Twitter thread. So I watched a Peeps Yu-Gi-Oh stream against my better judgment, and we were talking about boss monsters. Now in Yu-Gi-Oh, mostly boss monsters are found in the extra deck, but for a select few decks, they play their boss's main. An old type of boss for a more civilized age of card slinging. So we got to asking what the greatest main deck boss monster of all time is. I think this is probably the definitive answer. Ultimate Conductor Tyranno propelled Dinosaur to an unbelievable place in the metagame for years. And to this day, a truly frightening card. It books all your opponent's monsters, a type of removal most decks can't deal with. It's huge, it can clear the whole field on its own, and it's a combo starter because it pops dinosaurs on your side of the field. So if you have something better, let me know in the comments. Let's see what you came up with. Everybody gangsta till GamCL plus Waterfront. GamCL, the Sea Turtle Kaiju, is mostly known as a removal spell, but it's also an unbelievable end boss for the Kaiju archetype. If you are able to get it onto your side of the field, which is not so easy to do because it has 2,200 attack points, it is literally 5 Omnis. Every single counter on Kyoto Waterfront enables it to do half of an Omni negate, and that shit is not once per turn. This was so strong that a significant amount of decks during the period when Saruya was first released were using that card to special summon this from your hand in defense position and then just sit on it. Eldritch the Golden Lord, I mean, honestly, solos on his own. He's removal, he's difficult to out, he's a huge asshole with a lot of attack. Lady of the Silver Castle is not my pick for Labyrinth. I actually think Lovely solos a little bit more, but it's hard to deny that this card isn't super strong when it's literally in the second best deck in the metagame right now. Mutant, yes, an archetype that was released in like 2019 that feels like it came out in 2011, uses main deck monsters for most of its bosses. Arsenal, Beast, and Mist are all extremely cool. Another great answer. This card is not very good at all, but you look at him and you gotta say he really is the king of the Skull Servant. Oh yeah, Immortal Phoenix Gearfried. Oh, he is everything you want in a boss monster. He's a negate, he's a big lad, he's a removal. It's actually shocking that this card has not been more playable throughout its tenure. M-Pen is such a good main deck boss. It's so good that frequently I'll look at Ryza and be like, or I could go for a second M-Pen. Oh, right. The Dawn one says, surprised I haven't seen this yet. Yeah, Masterpiece, the True Draco Slaying King, is like the prototypical main deck boss. He's banned. JD, perfect answer. Frequently, Lightsworn games are just the JD waiting room, and both of you are just kind of tense, waiting for the boy to make an appearance, at which point the game will be determined one way or the other. Doom King Baylordrock, absolutely correct. Single-handedly propelled his archetype to playable for a long time. Of course, now is just another piece of the pie, but negate, banish once per turn, quick effect speed, resurrects itself from the graveyard every turn, searchable, summonable, in zombie decks, he is the lad. Endymion is definitely one of them. Just the daddy of the Pendulum deck for such a long time, especially when the deck was mostly just spam out as many extra deck idiots as possible. It felt good that there was at least someone in the main deck strong. This card is also super effective against people who refuse to read. Plasmo really does feel like the guy when he comes down. He really does. Geo the Gravity Ninja. See, I feel like this isn't a boss because of how accessible it is, but he kind of is the whole deck. It's like Geo control the second he makes an appearance. He's got a real weight to him. A real gravity. Thank you. Another card that named a whole bunch of cards after him. Yeah, Kieran is game-warpingly powerful immediately. I know that no one has because the deck isn't good, but have you ever sat down and read Vera? This is the craziest fucking card ever printed. It's a Reborn. It's a Snatch Steal. It's an Omni Negate. It's a soft once per turn. It's a real problem if this one is ever going to be playable. Distant Coder says, if you know, you know. Oh, don't I know it. I think the boss monster of this archetype was actually Token. Joshua Schmidt says, yes, I'm a boomer when it comes to this game, but it is not even close. Dark Arm Dragon I almost don't even count as a boss monster. He's just like a very good card. You know, he's not like an archetypal boss. The Machina-Lads, Citadel's up there for sure. Citadel is up there. And also the favorite card of Florida Congressman Maxwell Frost. Oh yeah, Deus Ex Crawler really good. Though it's not like great in Crawler. It's mostly good in Orcus decks that spam it out. Arlecchino for sure. He basically does everything for the archetype. The archetype is just balls. Does this guy count? If he does, he's up there, yeah. Canonically, UCT has already been folded by the top dog of this thread. Thank you, GCD. That's your finest moment to this day. You truly, truly broke that YCS. Oh yeah, a lot of Monarchs could be here. I really don't feel like Aether and Erebus count, but Caius certainly does. Limited since release until 5Ds. Yeah, that's a legacy. While it is used as a floodgate for the most part, yes, Christia's 100% correct. It's nice being able to add back any fairy utility for Despia, Heralds, Ishizu, Vernisylph. Sadly, Ishizu stuff bit the dust to help get the fairies in graveyard to make it easier to use. This card has seen new life in Edison format, and I'm so happy that it's getting the respect it deserves. Not so happy it's being played. Fuck this card. Light and Darkness Dragon, even though it doesn't hold up incredibly by today's standards, works as a boss monster. God, this thing was the scourge of 2009. You can still get it on Time Wizard format, side event mats. Appaloosa at home. No. Appaloosa is Light and Darkness Dragon at home. Dire here with Har, Generator, Boss of Storms. This doesn't really count because every single generator is like its own boss. And then Vlad immediately under it. Sure. A card so good it had an entire term named after it. Apoclephor Tower is 100% correct. This is probably the answer. Towers was such a devastatingly frustrating card to play with or against, ruined multiple formats, just turboing it out and hoping that it was enough, and unfortunately it almost always was, especially if you lived in Europe and you didn't have access to Diamond Crab King. Unconventional pick. But yeah, Turbulence literally says set 4 cards from your deck. It's like the most important part of the Rescue A strategy. It does everything you could ever want. It's just unfortunate the archetype isn't enough. Pet deck bias, I know, but outside of anime ace cards, how many other 15 to 20-year-old cards can boast not just having a deck, but being the focal card of an entire deck this far on? This thing won a YCS in 2018. It's unfortunate they don't really make cards like this anymore. These days, boss monsters are usually relegated to the extra deck, that big stack of auto-win cards you can just shuffle through anytime you have a couple of monsters on your side of the field. I really would like to see them bring back bullshit like this that has a huge main deck investment, but produces game states in which you rip the top card of your deck and go, just what I needed. Anyway, just what I need is my editor to work faster. Whoopsh, go Dire. It is kind of frustrating. What the fuck am I talking about? Ugh, I've been up. Oh, I'm too gay for this. It is kind of frustrating that mostly these days. It is kind of frustrating that I said frustrating again. That's crazy. It is kind of frustrating that mostly these days boss monsters. I don't know why I can't do this. It is kind of frustrating that mostly these days boss monsters. I'm out of it. It is kind of frustrating. Third time. It is kind of frustrating that mostly these days boss monsters seem relegated to the extra deck. It's like weird toolbox of cards that are always in a secret second hand instead of in the main deck where you can draw into them and go, oh, wow, exactly what I needed. But that's Yu-Gi-Oh now. That was not a good outro. Fuck you.